Why is the English language so weird when it comes to pluralizing mid-American windstorms?
Or archaically, tropical thunderstorms. Oh, what's up, y'all? There's a tornado watch for most of East Texas.
Is it been me, or like we've been a little tornado crazy early here in 2024?
Yeah,
I feel like Ohio's been hit like 8 times.
It's the trendy weather phenomenon for the moment.
Yeah, we didn't get a good winter, so it's like, here, we'll have some tornadoes for you, and we'll just destroy everything.
We're not doing hurricanes or whatever, I guess.
Not yet. Hurricanes are going to come later in the year.
Right.
We're really in for it.
Good hurricane in a couple of years, though.
Unless you're the New York Rangers, in which case you can't really close out hurricanes, so they're just going to continue to be a huge problem. And yeah, I think they might be in trouble over there. But
hopefully, because that'd be so good for my bracket.
Wouldn't that just be wonderful just for the vibes anyway? And unless you're listening in from Manhattan, in which case
pick a better team.
They vibe so spectacularly over there anyway. Do they really need more? I mean, they can spare some for the rest of the country down in the Carolinas, which I think a lot of their neighbors will eventually migrate to. So really, you're investing in the vibes later in your life. So when you take that perspective about it,
I don't think that's how economics works.
I'm an English guy. I don't know math. I'm not gonna try and understand what I don't understand.
Oh.
Anyway, welcome back to Taps. Is this round 3 of the playoffs?
Division finals.
That's the better way to explain it. We're in the division finals here. 8 teams left out of the billion that started the playoff. Well, I think the actual number is 23, 24,
22 mini.
22. Yeah, lots. Out of the lots that started off, we are down to 8. In the Central, we have Grand Rapids and Milwaukee. In the Pacific, it's Coachella and Ontario, the Californian one, not the Canadian one. In the Atlantic, it is Hershey and Hartford. And rounding out in the North, it's Cleveland and Syracuse. D, what's the biggest one jumping at you out of those matchups?
I think probably the California Clash.
I like it. Do you want to start there?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's start there.
The Firebirds in the Rain, which, by the way, I always feel like if your city is named after another city, you should change the pronunciation of your city. So, like, this Ontario should be like Ontario or something. Like, there's Houston, Texas, right? But in New York, it's Houston. So I feel like, but it's spelled the same. I feel like that should be the general rule of thumb. But the Firebirds handed the Rain their first playoff loss this season.
I'm going to start calling it Ontario.
Ontario.
The Ontario Rain.
Yeah,
what was that? A good 3-2 victory there for Coachella out in game 1. Eric Portillo taking his first postseason L of the year. And I mean, you can't really say it was his fault. I don't think you can. Ontario outshot him 31-15, and most of those came there in the third period where the shot discrepancy was 14-4. But only Samuel Fujima was able to beat Chris Drieger on the man advantage. So that goaltending that we expected to step up really in the last series there for Coachella, which did in the closeout game 4, has now continued here against Ontario. And
sure. I mean, it was pretty disciplined game too, honestly. I mean, we're talking 5 total penalties, really not much to speak of.
Mm-hmm.
Again, only 1 power play goal So special teams didn't really get a chance to come out and like do the things that they're really good at, especially for the Reign, where they are, pretty solid on their special teams. However, the Reign also didn't get any of that like offense going. Like they got the first goal in, which is great. Build momentum off of that, but then you let Coachella Valley come in and score like 3 uninterrupted. You're gonna pay for that because you're letting them build the momentum.
Mm-hmm. And Coachella is a tough team to play from behind against. Once they get that lead, to snatch it back from them, like I said, they got Drieger in that, but they just have just such a sound structure, especially in the neutral zone. They really kind of stuff the attack and make it seem like you got mud in your skates. It's just not a situation where, especially in the postseason, you want to be playing from.
No.
But give them credit. Ontario has one of the deepest forward cores, I believe, and not just in this division, but sheesh, in the whole league. I mean, Fujimo and TJ Tynan kind of grabbed the spotlight there as most goals, and then Tynan is he's former MVP. You know what he brings, but Akil Thomas has really been a difference maker for this club. I mean, Joe Hickett's from the back end. Fans in Grand Rapids know what he's capable of, and Tyler Madden. You don't see this team get stifled offensively very often.
And don't count out like players like Alex Turcotte either, who maybe haven't transitioned very well from like lower levels to professional, and they just need a little bit more time. Still really, really good players fighting for the eventual roster spot that they're gonna get. Mm-hmm. But they need scoring from like their vets. Like specifically, I am looking at you, Charloudon, who I have always very firmly believed looks like Snidely Whiplash from Dudley Do Right.
Like, you're not wrong.
He used to have like a really thin mustache as well. The man can't grow facial hair very well. He looks like Snidely Whiplash, so I need Snidely Whiplash, affectionately, to score some goals because he can. And if he's not scoring goals, he at least usually does really well with setting up chances and giving people attempts to finish. So we really have to like get that kind of situational awareness from Hudon if they really want to like get any kind of like depth scoring. And he is,
Oh, I heard that.
He's you.
Oh, I heard that.
It's storming. It's been storming in the Houston area for about a week and a half now. But he wears an A on his chest, so there's like some leadership there. This is like the perfect time for that leadership group to step up and really like show what they're made of and like lead the team through what seems like adversity, but is very overcomable adversity for a team like the Reign. Excuse you, Thor.
Yeah, that's starting to get a little rude. So we're speaking about this as like it's like this huge issue for Ontario, but really it's
super overcomable hurdle. Like
right, and they've lost their first game of the whole playoffs. Like it's it's okay. You hit that first. Every team's gonna experience a little bump in the road on the way to the Calder Cup. So it's certainly nothing to hit the panic button about or anything, but certainly going to put yourself in a better position if you can go on the road, especially to a hostile environment like Coachella and their fans. I mean, for a second-year franchise, they've already kind of taken root in that Palm Springs area, and the fans are crazy out there. It's really incredible to see, but they just got to figure out a way to kind of steal one on the road, maybe in game 2, and you take it home back tied 1-1. That could change the whole complexion of this series. But how do you break through these Firebirds that just seem to be so stifling on their attack?
Don't release the momentum. Mm-hmm. You scored the first goal in the opening game of a best of 5 series. You put your foot down on the pedal and you do not let off of it. You throw their game back in their face, and you, I don't know, maybe like lay a trap card and let them fall into it. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. I think the good thing is I'm currently Googling Ontario to Palm Springs. Like, how far away is it? Let's see. It's an hour and 45-ish minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like, ideally, the Reign will have a bunch of their own sweaters in the stands and a bunch of their own fans there to like help them keep that energy high. I think they need to keep, like, that's what they need. They need to keep the energy high because Coachella Valley, whether they get help from fans in the stands, or not, that's something they're really good at, is keeping the energy high and forcing momentum swings. Ontario has to hang on to the pendulum and like swing with it and then grab it all as a team and do like a little bit of tug of war and really like keep it in their end. The momentum, not the puck. Keep the puck out of their end because they do have really good goaltending. It's just that they need to find a way to kickstart the offense. And if you can't kickstart the offense, what you have to do is double down on the defense and defend your blue line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I mean, as far as, where this team kind of lines up with Coachella, I think at that, you know what Drieger's capable of, but Portillo has had perhaps the best postseason up until game one. I mean, he wasn't even necessarily bad in game one. It's just Coachella kind of took advantage of their opportunities. Boom, it happens. The playoffs.
Yeah.
So, if you can get a good bounce back from him in game two real easy, and all it takes is a bounce, man. It's, I feel like when you play on the road, maybe it's just me watching Grand Rapids' playoff run. We'll get to them later, but I just feel like you play more loose on the road, and, you have the fans behind you, but sometimes I feel like that kind of makes you a little like, you want to be that sparks that lights the firecrackers off, but you kind of hang on to your stick a little too tight in front of that home crowd, and next thing you know, you're playing from behind, and then it's one thing playing on the road and you have the opposing fans in your ear, but I don't know if there's a better feeling in the world than shutting those fans up with a couple of quick goals. And now it's like, this is your ice, you've taken over, and the crowd's just not into it. And that's like, okay, we're doing our job, So yeah. Ontario, I think they just got to find a way to.
Yeah, I think their key to winning is like two-way play.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not the goaltending. The goaltending's fine. It's just that, having such a low, like, they did not, the Firebirds did not launch that many shots at the net. They launched the quality shots at the net, but there's also, you can clean up your defense. You can get stronger two-way players on the back check for every line. Doesn't have to be, like, sure, they're a fourth line grinder, but like they're really, really good at shutting down the blue lines. And now it's like you have 3 defensemen on the ice, but they can still move the puck forward and make some plays. You gotta get some two-way play out of some of those quote unquote fourth line grinders. Maybe you mix the lines up. Maybe you do whatever it takes to get, like, clean up that back check and make sure that if they're launching shots at the net, it's recorded as a shot attempt and not as a shot.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you just got to get a big body like Jacob Doty on the fourth line there to go crashing into the boards against Coachella's defenseman, like a big old clap of thunder going on in the background. And I mean, especially with the way that Coachella's defense activates and becomes a part of this offense. I mean, you had Jimmy Shrewd get the game winner in game one, and
yeah,
you got to find a way to disrupt it, because all the Penguins fans from the late 2000s, early 2010s know that Dan Bilesman's offense kind of, starts from that back end and moves through transition to those speedy forwards up front. If you can't find a way to kind of slow those guys down, they're going to burn you. and just you got to get in the lanes. You got to get in their face. You can't give them any space or time because that's once they get those wheels going, it's makes it that much harder to stop these guys.
Yeah, no, like don't count out like Coachella Valley's defense at all. They have Cale Fleury, who will hit you like his entire career depends upon his next hit. Like he's a very physical player. He can activate into the offense a little bit. He can make some plays. He can move the puck, but at the end of the day, he's a very physical player. Mm-hmm. You've got him and Connor Carrick, like defending the blue line for Coachella Valley. You have to understand that you are going to be like you're gonna get hit. You have to brace for that impact and just kind of make sure that whatever they're doing does not disrupt your two-way play. That's the key for both teams is two-way play.
Mm-hmm. And as we record here on Thursday night, Game 2 is going to be getting underway. So, hey, we'll see in the morning when this episode drops kind of how well our advice goes for both teams. What do you think? Who do you think we're going to be right, or do you think something's just gonna blow wide open? It's gonna be like, well, look at these two. They do not know what they're talking about.
We're always just like one take away from being shunned from hockey in general. I mean, I don't think anything that we said is gonna be wrong. Notice I've not made a prediction on this. Because it could literally go either way. I don't think we've seen a really indicative showing of either team just in the first game of the series. So I will hold off and reserve judgment.
I like it.
Speaking of like games happening right now, the second period in Hartford and Hershey is about to end. We were recording this on Thursday, the 16th of May. I was released from jury duty today, by the way. A girl doesn't serve on the jury. Hershey is leading 4-1 with a minute and a half left in the second. Currently, just at the moment.
Congratulations on not having to go through with your civic duty, by the way.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
Isn't it the best when it's like, we don't need you?
Yes, because, like, you want me?
Just wait. Me?
Me? Like, I'm really stupid.
Like, making life or death decisions for someone? Like, this. All this.
There was a priest who tried to get out of jury duty. I was talking like Orthodox priest, like, you know, like Catholic priests, they have like robes or whatever, right? But Orthodox priests have like the sashes and like little thingies that hang down on the side of it. Orthodox priest, collar and everything. He has a Bible. He walks up to the judge. He blesses the judge. He then starts quoting scripture to prove that he should not be sitting on a jury. The judge says, "Don't you obey the law of like God, but aren't you also commanded to obey the law of the land of which you are a citizen? Go sit down." I have never, ever seen a man who looked like he wanted to tell somebody to F themselves for the first time in their life more than this priest, dejected, taking his seat back in the jury assembly room.
I like the attempt to try and use the word of the Lord and as your attempt to like scurry on and skirt your duty, but the law of God is one thing, but the law of man is a completely
different. We're like even Jewish people, yes, we obey, very specific set of laws, but we are also citizens of where we live, inhabit the earth, and we must obey those laws and things as well. And being a priest is not one of the listed exceptions.
We all have our duty to the state. So
who did not have jury duty.
Important note, though, on that Hartford series, as they seem to get it taken to them here in game one. Just literal minutes before the game, it was announced that Dylan Garand was being called up to the New York Rangers. So that put the Wolfpack in a very difficult situation, considering that their star netminder that has now just, I'm trying to keep it family friendly for our folks over there in Providence, but you did brewing it. So for the second year in a row against the Hartford Wolfpack.
It's advantageous for the Wolfpack.
It's very difficult. Now, to be fair, they are also getting outshot 20-7. Hershey's converted on 2 power plays. They just seem to be kind of taking it to them. And poor Olaf Lindbaum is doing his best to keep the Wolfpack in it.
Yes.
They gotta give him some help. It's not just the goalie.
I'm looking here. Did they even need a goalie did the Rangers start Shesterkin?
They started Shesterkin. I assumed something happened to Johnny Quick.
Okay.
And
So they didn't actually need to dress the one goalie that's going to give Hartford.
You would think that they would put Garand, they would keep Garand down in there to kind of, get him rolling against a very tough opponent like Hershey, and either take Lindbaum or they have Louis Domingue up there as well. So you can't roll 2 goalies. I mean, I know you kind of need like an emergency third guy in case for playoffs, but
all right, but I mean, you have. Well, didn't they call up Garand because Domingue is apparently banged up or something?
Well, then they should have called Lindbaum up. I don't know.
Well, but why do you need 3 goalies? It's not like you can dress 3 goalies in any given night. You can only dress 2.
It's playoffs. Do you really want David Ayers in your net in a playoff game?
No, but I get it. But you've got you've got Shesterkin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He seems to be he's fine. If you have another goalie, another NHL goalie, that you can just dress as a backup if you need him, why are you worried about replacing your third goalie who's not even going to be dressed?
Right, which is why they should have just taken Lindbaum up instead and had Garand playing in this game. And then it is what it is. Hartford's getting dummied, and I don't want to say it's the Rangers' fault, but it's kind of the Rangers' fault.
And the Rangers aren't even winning.
Exactly. It's all just bad karma all around.
3-1 in the second intermission.
In a series that you had a 3-0 lead in.
It was 3-0.
Can you imagine if the vibes? I know we talked about the vibes earlier, but could you imagine the vibes if Carolina pulled that off?
Oh yeah, but if they do, it's so good. It's so good for my bracket.
Is your bracket still perfect or what?
Yeah. My bracket's
still alive.
I just need Dallas, Edmonton, Carolina, and Boston to pull it off.
Oh no.
Okay, listen, that series
all comebacks. Not that, but
we're worried about it because my entire first round was basically comebacks too.
Yeah.
No, my bracket's looking fantastic. I really just need Dallas and Carolina to make it through because that's who I have going to Stanley Cup final. Because again, I am stupid. And I really just need Dallas. At the end of the day, I really just need Dallas because everybody else in the pool, basically, their choice has already been eliminated, and it's me and
you already won.
Of us, yeah, it's 3 of us total that even have a chance. Right?
Well,
so
go your bracket.
Everybody else had Vegas advancing, and I was smart enough to be no.
I like it. So, okay, well, end of the second here tonight in game 1. Hershey's up 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
If, let's say, Dylan Garand stays up in New York, the Rangers advance, are we going to give Hartford any room to pull something off against Hershey here, or are we just gonna anoint the Bears as the Atlantic's representative in the Eastern Finals?
No.
I assumed so, but I needed
No,
confirmation from it.
Hershey's Hershey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hershey plays their game, right? So if you can adapt your game to their game, you've got it. Hartford, and we saw it against Providence. Hartford is gonna take some time, adjust to like the style of game they need to play to win, and they are going to dig deep and they are going to drive. They are going to try. They're not giving up without a fight. I don't think it's gonna be as easy of a win as a lot of people might think just because it's Hershey. Like it's also yes, it's Hershey.
Wait. I'm looking at the score sheet right now. Is Riley Nash not in the lineup for Hartford? Did they really just take out their like two guys? And
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Lecision's in there, and he was the hero in Game 4, and he's got another one tonight. But those were the guys that you wrote. Those are the horses that you rode in on. And in Game 1 against the team in the league, you're just like, nah.
Yeah. No. Yes, but also no. So I don't think that just by the sheer virtue of it being Hershey, forget what you've been told. Hershey does still have to fight for their wins, and Hartford is not going down without a fight.
I agree. I hope so, at least, because it's maybe it's because they're the highest seed left, but I always love an underdog, and I'm hoping that they can make a series of this at least. I mean, sorry for everyone listening in Manhattan right now, but I kind of hope that the Rangers lose and Grand can come back down to Hartford. And one, it would be funny. Two, it would give the Wolfpack, I think, a legitimate shot at this thing. And that's really all we want. No one wants to see a blowout.
No, everybody wants the fun. Like, you want the fun series. Like, it's not fun when you're watching a routing. Like, nobody wants that. Also, I really enjoy. I'm still looking. Because I pulled up the scores, the NHL scores, to check the New York Carolina one. The intermission screen on the NHL box scores has Zambonis going around the ice. It's very cute.
That was one of my favorite things about NHL 94 was like during the intermission, you'd see the Zamboni going across the screen. Like that was my favorite.
I miss it. All right.
Do you want to talk about more games that are going on right now as we're recording?
Yeah. Are we talking about Syracuse and Cleveland?
That would be the one. That's the only one because Coachella and Ontario haven't started yet. So that's right. That one over there on Lake Erie, that's 0-0 after 2 periods. So it's quite different. 5 less goals, in fact, than the other match in the Eastern. Jet Greaves and Brendan Halverson are in a goaltending duel right now here. And Jet Greaves, I have heard some things about Jet Greaves pertaining to a certain farm animal. That can be debated later, but he was incredible in that opening series against Belleville, and especially they had that double overtime game. I believe that was game 3, which it was like in a game like that, double OT, 5-game series. It's like winner takes it, right? Like you don't lose a double OT game and then go on to win the series. Vice versa, you don't win a double OT game and then go on to lose it. Cleveland did that. Jet Greaves made some unbelievable saves in that one. And, well, that's why we're talking about Cleveland versus Syracuse and not Belleville against Syracuse.
Yeah, or the Rochester versus Syracuse.
Or, well, that was last round.
I know, but I'm talking about it's what they're taking with them through every single round.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they put it on display against Belleville. They put it on display against Rochester. They put it on display against Syracuse. But unfortunately, I mean, Syracuse is so,
I'm also hearing from some of my little birds, obviously not watching the game right now because it's a Game of Thrones reference.
I know. I was going to ask, I wouldn't want to be Varys if I were you.
look, just because he had a rough season 8 doesn't mean that we take that away from his entire character, okay?
Okay, his entire character was rough, but like, go on.
Well, that's a different rabbit hole for a different time. I'm just saying is that the reports out of game 1 is that it's kind of a snooze fest, which
That's what I'm hearing.
I can relate to game 1 of the Griffins and Admirals series, and I feel like unless you're Hershey, a lot of these games take some like feeling out of the other team, kind of like, okay, I know we met 15 times during the regular season, but the playoffs are different. How is this going to flow? And it kind of it starts off pretty slow for most of these teams. Ontario and Coachella even got off to a bit of a slow start before Coachella's like, yoink, I'll be having that.
Yep.
So I can understand and I sympathize with some of us who are on the beat and have to watch it. Like, it's no choice. You have to watch that game, and I get it. And it's playoff hockey, and it's going to be fun either way.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get used to like what the roster looks like now, right?
But now, how do you transition from like, okay, we're like feeling them out, seeing like what they got, to like we need to establish our game before they come out and establish theirs?
Oh, you take whatever your break is, right, between your games. You review your video. You run whatever drills you need to do. You do suicides in the dark, whatever you have to do. You come out and you immediately put the game plan into action of what you know you need to do. You switch up the lines. You do whatever you have to do. You run whatever plays you've got, kind of like going. You put whoever you need to put in the right place on the right line. You, I don't know, work your matchups. You like outwork them, or you do things specifically to tire them out. You force a lot of penalties, so they're playing a man down and their penalty killers are exhausted, so that when they get into the third period on their regular shifts, they've already been playing a whole lot of go 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 for 2-minute stretches, exhausted. I mean, you play the game, take the tape, analyze the tape, that's your feeling out, and then immediately you try whatever you have to do. I think whichever team wins, right, in the feeling out period, whichever team wins first is going to try to build off of what was successful. It's usually what we see, right? You usually see teams build off of what was successful, kind of tweak it a little bit so it's a little bit more successful. We don't often see the team that lost completely shake everything up, completely change their strategy. We see them try to do incremental adjustments. I think in a matchup like Syracuse and Cleveland, you flip that script 180 immediately. You come out and you shake up the lineups. You like rework your special teams units. Like, you take a day and everybody sits down all day. They're looking at tape. They're going there running plays. They're doing whatever they have to do to kind of feel out each other, like as a team on some new lines, whatever they've worked with in the past. And they're like, weirdly, we had to do that because it was like a injury situation, but that line worked really well. But then somebody came back and we broke it up. No, go back to what worked on some random Tuesday in the beginning of the season. Like, forget everything and come out and play a style of hockey within your team's style that specifically pokes massive holes in the other team.
And I think that's going to work out really well here for Syracuse, actually mainly considering that they don't have the problem that, say, like Hartford does, where you're in the middle of a playoff race and it's like, oh, we have an injury. Yoink, we're going to take all your guys, which Syracuse normally does because Tampa Bay usually has this thing where they're playing well into, June. But they've been eliminated. Thank you, Florida. And so now you have guys like Emil Liljeberg in. You have Alex Baraboulet, who has been all up and down the lineup, but he's been really effective this postseason. And When you get a guy like that going, it's going to be really tough to counter because you can slot him anywhere in the lineup, and it's just going to create matchup chaos for you. Cleveland can kind of deal with that a bit while they're at home here. They still got home ice advantage, but I tell you what, if Syracuse comes out here in the third, kind of takes control of that game, goes up 1-0 in the series, not a whole lot of room left for error for the Monsters, especially with 2 having to go back to Syracuse. So
yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, that's where both of these teams have like an advantage over the other. You know, they didn't lose, like they have their full complement of players. They didn't lose a whole bunch of people to the NHL playoffs. Like, I mean, shoot, even like Coachella Valley and Ontario, they have that luxury because LA was out in the first round. Like, they don't have, like, they have for the bulk of the playoffs or for all of the playoffs, they have had their full complement of players. They haven't had to work around things. I still think, though, that, okay, familiarity breeds chemistry. Familiarity, though, also breeds complacency. And I think that you need to find something that maybe like works in a different way than you've been used to, but you can still get some chemistry out of some players on both sides and make it happen. Make something happen. We're not going to sit through a whole bunch of like, and this is not like complaining about it. I'm telling you, like, neither of these teams are going to let the fans watching it sit through 5 super sleepy, super boring like games where all they do, they figure it out. It's like a 1-goal game in the third period. They're going to adjust. They're going to figure it out. Now, neither of these teams are super like crush your opponent into oblivion teams. They're not going to outscore each other like 12-1, but they are not going to let their fans. They're not going to let themselves sit through super drudging, nothing's happening hockey games. Both of them are going to want to build some momentum that they can carry with them down the hallway and into the next game.
It isn't the 90s anymore. The trap isn't totally employed. I mean, and partially
it is.
And it's sprinkled in, especially
in Philadelphia. They still just kind of play trap hockey. Well, not anymore. They got a new coach, and he's not the biggest fan of the trap. But for a while,
he's not the biggest fan of keeping his goalie in the net in a tie game either. So
he's not, and I thank him for it.
Well, you thank him for that's just evil. If I had another host here, I'd probably put you in the shame cube for a couple of minutes. But I can't run this show by myself. So
attaboy, Jonathan. I don't even know if John is short for Jonathan. I don't think it is. Go be.
I hope it's just John on his birth certificate.
John is actually short for Johnny. Go be super happy that Shelter Dogs got adopted. Have you seen that video?
I have, yes. I love it. And it warms my heart because I know he's got a lot of haters out in the world. And it's like, dude, the guy's a dog guy. A shelter dog guy.
Love-hate relationship with Torts, but, like, he's just like somebody's grandpa. You know what I mean? Or it's like, at work, it's work. And then, like, personal life, he's just somebody's grandpa. It's like, I don't love you as a boss, but, like, as a family member, I'd go to every single Christmas Eve dinner that you hosted.
Absolutely. Heart of gold, that guy. Do we want to talk about more drudgingly slow hockey? Because, boy, I got one for you.
I don't really want to, but I feel like...
I don't really want it either, but I had to sit through it. By God, so do you.
Are you talking about the series between a team that has a player who doesn't know where Grand Rapids is and a team whose social media is chirping said player for not knowing where Grand Rapids is?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
Okay.
And, I think Jonathan Berggren's made the drive between the cities at this point to go down I-96, and he knows where Grand Rapids is, which is
Michigan.
It's not as great. It's not as great for the memes because I have this vision of this Swede coming over to America with dreams of making the NHL in his eyes, and he's got just this puppy dog smile on his face, and he's driving into a random village in the middle of Ohio with about 800 people in it, and him just looking around like, this is not where I'm supposed to be.
That's what Swedes sound like. I've seen enough television shows and movies with Alexander Skarsgård in them that I don't think that's what Swedes sound like.
And Alexander Skarsgård doesn't have an actual like Swedish. I've talked to Berggren enough and hearing his cadence and all that, and I know that what.
But yours came out Russian, buddy.
I look. I have a bunch of Russians hanging over on my wall. The Russian Five was a huge era in Detroit.
You went 100% Dolph Lundgren. If he dies, he dies. Like
Dolph Lundgren's Swedish.
I understand that, but the character wasn't.
Well, he didn't have a good accent. I don't know what to tell you.
The character. I don't remember
anyway
what his name was. I really only like the first Rocky movie.
Anyway. Talking about drudgingly slow hockey, the shots after one period in this one were like 6-2. And there was not a lot of movement in there between the Griffins and the Admirals.
That's so rough.
There was like two good plays in that first period. And guess what? Both teams scored. There's a beautiful tic-tac-toe by the Griffins, and then Milwaukee countered with a beautiful stretch pass that got Zach LaRue, which like he's got like 6 letters in his name that you don't even need. And it was look at how it's spelled and tell me what's pronounced. Anyway, in that second period, it not a lot of space, and in that third period, not a lot of space. The Griffins actually only finished with 14 shots, which isn't really indicative. I mean, as the game went on, Milwaukee kind of controlled the play a little more, but unfortunately, for them, they couldn't get a whole lot past Sebastian Cossa, and so the Griffins actually, despite not playing for 10 days, went into Milwaukee, and they grabbed game 1 right out of the Admirals' hand, which is big because last series Milwaukee couldn't win on the road, but they won all 3 games at home. Game 1 in this one, they drop it to the Griffins. The Griffins are 3-0 away from their own arena in Van Andel. And Jonathan Berggren finally didn't have the game winner. And so I can't pull his bobblehead out, but he still got an assist. So he's still at a point a game. So he's off in the corner of my desk, his head's bobbling, and he's having a good time over there.
Okay, I don't know why you're complaining. That's literally just French.
That's why.
Literally just French.
French has letters that, like, my best friend's from Paris. I know all about French, where it's like you take like 3 of those, and those are the ones you pronounce. The rest of it is like, you move your mouth and you kind of make some sounds, but you're not actually pronouncing the letter. You're just
kinda.
And
then Quebec is completely different, and they just say things however the heck they.
He said some things about Quebec that they wouldn't appreciate, but I'm not going to repeat on this podcast because we have friends in Quebec. So
we do have friends in Quebec. And Canadian, so the Canadian French and Louisiana French, super similar in the like American bastardization of a European language. Super different.
You're welcome, French speakers of the Americas.
Like kind of the same, but like the emphasis is put on different places. According to Google Translate, LaRue means the happy one.
That makes sense. His nickname is Happy. He always looks very happy. He's got a ton. I think he's got 6 goals in 6 games that he's played in these playoffs so far. So the guy's just been an absolute postseason machine for Milwaukee. Yeah, which is like bad news for the Griffins. Look, they got away with it on in this one. He scored, but hey, they still come out with the win. Marco Kasper was the real star of the Griffins, along with Sebastian Cossa. Casper had the game winner in the third period, 10 minutes in, real like in tight angle on Troy Grosnick, right on the doorstep, goes over the shoulder, barred in, beautiful shot, throws 2 assists in there just for your old time's sake. And yeah, Griffins again, gutsy performance to go on the road, come away with the win. Now,
okay, no, hold on, because my thing is that first names and last names should not be able to start with the same consonant.
What you don't like the alliteration?
I don't like how hard it is to get both of those sounds out. I'm looking at you, Joel L'Esperance.
But the J and the L are two totally different. What?
The first name?
Yes.
L.
Oh, it ends in the. Oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying.
Starts with an L.
I feel like it makes it flow better. Joel L'Esperance. You don't even have to stop saying that. You just.
No. Okay, remember, I have German brain where we pronounce every letter, right? It's in Germany. When you take a journey, when you travel by ship, right? Yes. You are taking a Schifffahren, and that is 3 F's back to back to back. No. It should be.
First off, Germans take their language like way too seriously, and how every single little thing needs to be pronounced. It's the complete opposite of French, where you really only pronounce like 3 letters in a 10-letter word.
You pronounce the letter combination.
It's still not actual pronunciation. It's
and then sometimes
you give it like an accent, like
it's the same letter is pronounced differently depending on where it is in the sentence.
I mean, it's still easier than English, but still. Point being, there's still a gaping black hole in the Griffins game in this postseason, and that's on the power play.
Mm-hmm. Again,
they had 2 power play opportunities in the second period to really take control of that game, and you know what they did?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. They did nothing with it. It was actually atrocious, is the word I would use for it. And I'm like, at first, I was like, I don't want to hurt their feelings about it. But then after that one, you had 10 days to work on the power play and just practice and chill and rest yourselves and power play. You should have worked on nothing but power play. Well, not nothing, but a lot of power play. And they came out, they couldn't even get into the Milwaukee zone for half the time. And when they were in it, they didn't look like they knew what to do with the puck. And guess what? The second power play ended. Milwaukee went right down with all the momentum and tied the game. Thank God for Marco Casper, because if it wasn't for his heroics, who knows what would have happened in Grand Rapids. Point being is that they got away with it against Rockford. Their 5-on-5 play was so good that it hurt not to have power play goals, but you know what? They found a way anyway. You can't do it against Milwaukee. They're just too good. And
sorry.
Bless you, I think. I don't know what was going on there.
I'm dying.
Point being, you got to start. There's too much talent. I've been saying it for weeks now. There's too much talent for this team to keep going over on the power play. Find a way. Change something up. I don't care if you have to just put the lines in a blender and just completely go, whoever's the vibe for that night, just go out and go get it. Do something, man. This is just starting to get really frustrating watching this team on the power play.
Is it one of those things where it's like a credit to Milwaukee for disrupting whatever? Like, I didn't watch the game. I was working.
To a certain degree, of course the penalty killers are doing their jobs. But when the plays are there and available, but maybe instead of taking the shot, they decide to pass it, and it passes right into the penalty killer. You could say okay, the penalty killer was in the right position. He did his job and he did his thing, and it was good on the penalty killer. The guy on the power play needs to know that that's not the play to make with the puck, and he's got to go somewhere else. It's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Milwaukee's going to have a good penalty kill. I mean, Rockford, their penalty killers were actually very aggressive and really disrupted what could be construed as a Griffins power play. I think Rockford had more chances shorthanded than the Griffins had over the course of that series, and the Griffins had power play chances. So it's I don't know if you just got to square it down to the basics. I don't know if you need to change lineups up. I don't know why Elmer Soderblom isn't parked in front of the net the entire time. The guy is a redwood tree. He's 6'8" before he even puts his skates on. That seems like the kind of guy that you just want in front of the net, especially because he has deceptively good hands for a guy of his size. You'd figure he could do something really crazy and creative. I saw him in the opening game of the season try and go between the legs in front of the net. Why don't you try him out there a little more? I don't know. There's too much going on with this team. You shouldn't be going over on the power play.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's something that, like, I don't know. Like, you obviously don't want to play shorthanded, but if a team is giving away their momentum on their power play, you almost don't care. You're almost like, you know what? Trip the guy, sit in the box. We'll go to work shorthanded, stealing their momentum away like the Grinch stole Christmas, and like we'll go from there. We will build some momentum from there because it kind of looks like that's what happened.
The Admirals cleared the puck over the glass, and I asked on Twitter, like, can the Griffins decline the power play?
I've asked that. How many times have like one of the teams that I've been watching gotten like given a power play, and I keep saying like the NHL or the AHL needs a rule like in the NFL where you can just say no thank you and not take money.
I like it a lot. The other big storyline in this one, as I look forward to game 2 on Monday, so in these playoffs, Milwaukee started with Yaroslav Askarov because if you had him, why wouldn't you? This guy is as blue chip a prospect in that as you could possibly have. And like when it comes to vibes, I really think only Pyotr Kochetkov can eclipse him in that when it comes to like Russian vibes and just like the Russian goalies. They're built different. I think we can all agree on that.
I'm sorry, who?
Yaroslav Askarov.
You know the other one?
Pyotr Kochetkov, PK. Pyotr, okay, you're lying. You're just trying to get at me, and I'm not allowing it.
I've never heard of him.
So the first two games, like what?
Is he like a good goalie, or is he just like incredibly memeable or something?
Both. I mean, him being good helps with the memes, if that's what you're asking. You can meme a goalie if he's not very good, but if he's good, it helps. Anyway, Askarov kind of got lit up against Texas the first couple of games in Texas, and then heading back to Milwaukee with the 3 straight in that series. Carl Taylor, the head coach of the Admirals, goes to veteran Troy Grosnick. He wins 1, 2, 3 in a row to come back and win that series. And I was wondering if he was going to go back to Askarov because he hadn't had a home game yet. You're starting back 0-0, maybe go back to the young guy. Well, he goes with Grosnick. And can't really fault him for any of the goals. Maybe he was hugging the post and kind of giving too much space on the far side there to Casper. But, I mean, in tight, that close, defensive breakdown more than you can blame on Troy. So you wonder, what's the plan for game 2 here? Are they going to go back to the veteran and have him give him a shot at redemption? You're on home ice. Get one back before you head to Grand Rapids. Or are you going to give the youngsters a chance, now that maybe he's kind of focused in a little bit? Because I don't know if you saw it in that second game, Askarov just absolutely clotheslined someone from Texas. You feel like his head wasn't in the game there, which is not what you need from your goalie in the postseason.
Yeah, you need goalies to be a lot more you need your goalies to be the most level-headed person on the ice.
Exactly.
You let your defensemen fight for you, even if reactionary goalie in the regular season. You need to find the zen, do some meditation, say your ohms, your affirmations, whatever you have to do to manifest calmness.
Exactly. And so now that he's had some time off, maybe game 2 they go back to Askarov again. Hasn't seen a game on home ice yet, and now maybe he's refocused and he's in the game. give his boys a chance to kind of battle back here on home ice. I legitimately don't know what direction they're going to go here.
I mean, I don't know, because that's the thing, right? Like, Grand Rapids didn't really get that many shots off.
Right.
You know, it's not like they were facing that many shots. I mean, Milwaukee launched a million things at Cossa. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know, like it's hard to say because like, you know, on like 13 shots at a goalie, you know, they got 3 past the goalie. It doesn't look like a bad performance from Grosnick is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
No,
So
you can't really fault him for any of the goals that were scored.
right, which is why it's like one of those things where it's like really hard to say. It's like, okay, well, if your goalie is continuing to let like whatever, like however many past you, but it's still like a really good game for them, or like do you go with the fact that like that's the goalie that kind of has a little bit of the momentum, and you know we did only let them get like 13 shots at him. One of them was on an empty net. We only let them get 13 shots at our goalie. Do we play better like in front of Grosnick? Do we play better in front of Askarov? What does like the goalie being there and our play combined? It's a math equation, right? What do like when you add those two together, which one gives you a better chance of winning the series? Or do you alternate? Like, do you alternate goalies?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that even Coach Taylor knows where he's going on Monday, or is it like who shows up better at practice? Is it a coin flip on Monday morning when he's having his breakfast?
I think there's a conversation that gets had. You know, I think there's definitely like if it's me, right? I'm having a conversation. I'm like, all right, hothead, where are we at? Like, can you be trusted to keep it calm and keep it collected so that we can because you've got one goalie that you need to park your defense in front of. You've got a goalie that you can just kind of like let do his thing, let defend his crease, and you maybe clear some defenders out of his way, you know? But he's a hothead. Do you go with the one that you can kind of leave alone and let your team play more aggressively, or do you go with the one that forces your team to play a more defensive game? It's a strategy gamble.
I guess we'll have to see on Monday because it could go either way. I don't know where they're going with it, but I know who's going to be in that for the Griffins. I know that for sure. They could have scored 8 goals, and that would have been like, Costa starting.
Really? Not Michael Hutchinson?
I love Hutch. Hutch has been great. And when it comes to vibes, again, like, it doesn't get much better than Hutch.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
But CPAS is this is the horse that you rode in on. This team was not getting away from Kosa.
Right, but full right goalies have rights too.
You're not wrong, but again, Kosa's the guy. He's the ride or die for the Griffins at this point. Hutch is going to be there to be the awesome teammate and
who also looks like a cartoon villain. He also looks like a cartoon villain.
There's a lot of those, and
like especially since he started growing his hair out. Remember, like he used to keep it like pretty like neat, and then he started growing it out, and you're like, Michael.
I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I hope he does anyway. I might try and get some availability with him just to ask that question. Like, let's talk about the hair. I want to know the product that he's got in it, and I want to know just
like it used to stay really like cropped up close to his head, and like his facial hair stayed like really like clean, like he's like cropped close to the head, and now he's like.
Is that just a goalie thing? Like as you get older, it's just like long hair don't care, or what?
Well, I'm a female goalie, so you have to ask a male goalie. We kind of tend to just have long hair.
Well, yeah. I mean,
well, no, like okay, but think about it. Like Carey Price never really grew out his hair.
That's true.
Freddie Anderson has had like the short hair for a while.
Chekhov's had the longer.
Yeah, I think like
he's also a menace. So
okay, but like Shesterkin has always had like longer hair. He started growing it out a little bit. Holtby had like longish hair for the longest time.
Yep.
I think like but like Darcy Kemper has always had like shorter hair. Like I think if you're like prone to long hair as a goalie, you get settled in and then start growing it out. And then if you're prone to short hair, you don't cut it for the playoffs and then like immediately crop it afterward. Because like the longest we've ever seen like Carey Price's hair is like not even that long.
Right. It barely sticks out of the helmet.
I think you need a haircut, buddy. I think that's what we've got. We're making no predictions this round.
Yeah, we'll leave predictions because I other than I think Hershey's gonna blow the doors off of Hartford if they don't have their goalie in. It's tough. The rest of them.
Oh, the Rangers scored another one.
Oh no, another one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, 3-2. Last I checked, it was 3-2. I was like, oh no, but
sorry,
can you tell I'm rooting for?
Like last time we talked about it, it was 3-1.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, it was Chris Kreider.
Ew. Oh, you have. Oh yeah, Gary. Well, you better be careful because if Chris finds out about that, you might find a little crack in his path. I went there.
Really?
All right, yeah, no predictions. We're gonna let the vibes do the talking. I think that's those are the series for this one. Yeah. All right. Well, that's another week of taps in the books. We are going to be back next week, which is going to be really fun because if that Grand Rapids series goes to 4 games, your boy is going to be going to Van Andel Arena. You want to talk about vibes? Oh boy, we're going to be getting in one.
I will be trying not to drown in the torrential floods.
You know, it's not raining in Grand Rapids. You should just come up there for the Pepino's watch party. It'll be great. It'll be great.
I got work, Andrew.
You work Fridays?
I do work Fridays.
I know. It's like one of your busier.
Yeah, Fridays, Saturdays, yes.
You get sick. It's not a big deal. It happens all the time.
Oh, I'm currently sick. I will probably.
Oh, good. So there you go. You don't even have to come up with an excuse. You just run with what you have. Anyway, I'm Andrew. That's Dee. In the background are a bunch of thunderstorms. It's
really weird noise. I don't know what that was.
That's a tornado, and
it was really really loud. And then there's also a fire truck or something.
Oh, that's a tornado for sure. Well, stay away from windows. Get into the most inside room in your house, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Hopefully.